Turtle power, Turtle power, Turtle power, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. Hey guys, Steve-O here from Movies and TVs on the Vault, and welcome to another video with Steve and
Jay.
And we are finally doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. They just celebrated the 35th anniversary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 celebrated it last year, so I figured they just hit it on the big screen, and we've seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles about twice now on the big screen. The first one from 1990. And I'll be honest with you, Jay, what did you think about it when the first, at least, what was your first impression? Do you remember your first
I
impression?
don't remember my first impressions just because, just growing up with it was, just sort of a
I,
somewhat constant.
yeah, and I didn't realize it was so dark. I mean, even the film one, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just, I remember that I remember it was just so dark and just so, like, kind of wet, the way it was shot. And I think this film was the highest grossing independent movie of 1990, and it lasted till about 1999 when the Blair Witch Project came out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I really like this one. The I like how this one opens up. We kind of get like we have a Judith Hogue, who I think is the only, this is her only time as playing April O'Neil.
Okay.
And then the voice of Elmo is Splinter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm Splinter. That'd be kind of funny. And I think the guy that played the one of the stunts from Michelangelo played Kino in the second one.
Okay.
Um, and we get a young Sam Rockwell as one of the foot leaders. And Sam Rockwell, if you don't know who I'm talking about, you probably know him from as Guy from Galaxy Quest, where he's the one at the beginning who says, "Yeah, I got killed off in episode 2 entirely with the lava monster before the commercial break." And
Gotcha.
he's the one that says, "I'm supposed to die in every episode." And I really like this one, and it's a lot darker and very,
Yeah.
and just the way it's shot. I mean,
No,
and
yeah.
it's PG when PG meant something. Um,
Right. Yeah. And
wh-
then I think the second one, they sort of lightened the tone a bit.
well, it was. I remember in the second one, and I'll go into it, but I remember the honest trailer for the second one. They said because of lame parent complaints, they could never use their weapons, and like that scene where they get stuck into um, the trap, the
Um.
rope. It's like, well, it could be good if you could use your swords or something,
Right.
Leonardo swords. But I really like this one. I mean, I have a soft spot for Turtles 2, and I'll get into tell you why in the next video. But this one, I think after seeing it about twice now,
Right.
especially on the big screen, I really like this one. What was your first impressions? Do you remember watching it?
I don't remember my first impressions, but I remember because we went and saw it, I think last year for the 35th at Central Cinema. And I
Yeah,
remember thinking, oh man, this is better than I was thinking it was going to be. Just
but
it was a pretty, I mean, it's a good movie.
it is a good movie, and I like how it really introduces the characters. We get April O'Neil, who's a reporter. There is that kind of thing where, or there is that image of her walking in her yellow
Right.
shirt or yellow
Reminiscent of
jacket,
the animated
kind
TV.
of the
Yeah.
animated TV show, and she's kind of got the hair like she does in the comics. It's kind of frizzly a little bit.
Right.
Um, and I think Michelangelo, Raphael, and they really bring their
Yeah.
character. I mean, Leonardo seems when I watched him in the animated show, he was a little bit of a whiner, didn't you
Yeah.
kind of think?
Yeah.
But this one, he's still a whiner, but he's a little bit better at it.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me a little bit of like with the X-Men where Raphael's sort of reminiscent of like Wolverine, sort of like an angry,
brooding
somewhat,
type,
yeah, brooding
brooding
type, and
type,
Leonardo sort of like trying to hold the team together,
like
sort of
Cyclops,
right, yeah,
and Michelangelo is a party dude.
right,
But he's not. I don't think they made him as extreme because I think now I do know that in the animated show they really gave Raphael and Michelangelo kind of the same character. Kind of, he wasn't as rough
uh,
because the animated show came out, and I think '87 was when it first was debuted,
okay,
and then the film, uh, then in the film it was more introduced. It
gotcha.
was more, and they kind of rolled with that throughout the series. But I think and it was kind of cool because when you saw it on the poster for it, it says they're mean, they're green, and they're on the big screen. Um, so you want to just kind of do a run through the plot and then give us kind of our thoughts.
Sure, yeah,
So the plot is pretty much we see April O'Neil. She's giving sort of an intro about the crime wave in
right,
New York City, and we see like people stealing TVs, and they're wayward teens that steal from car radios and
yeah, just
televisions and stuff like that. And then they kind of I love how they're stealing stuff, and then there's like this
some ninjas in a van,
ninjas in a Foot Clan in the van, and they're just there, and they're just putting it in there and close the door and drive off.
right,
And then we see like thieves without. We see like them at their like hideout, and their hideout. Do you want to go into their hideout?
yeah, yeah, their hideout sort of
Kind of
like
reminds me
a
of Pleasure Island from Pinocchio, kind of thing.
yeah, sort of like a land of like kids like ruling the
Well, it's not. Yeah, but it's like because we saw like skateboarding
right.
and
They were like one like little kids like smoking a cigar,
there's a
playing
kid
pool.
playing pool, smoking a cigar. There's these kids gambling, and
Yeah, they
it's
had like
like,
a
guys,
roulette
read them and
wheel.
read. Full House. Now, after watching this for the third, fourth time, I realized the roulette wheel.
Yeah,
Um, but I do remember him like playing pool with the guitar, and it did remind me of Pinocchio's Pleasure Island,
right.
a little bit. But I really liked how that we saw that kind of thing, go. And then the film uh, goes into April O'Neil. She ends up getting doing
Jump.
she ends up doing the whole kind of basically exposition news
Right.
report, and then she ends up getting going out of her car and finding that these teens are stealing out of the
Uh,
Channel 3 news van,
right.
and they jump her, and well, yeah, they jump her and they try to get her, they try to mug her, and all of a sudden out of the shadows there's a and the glass breaks and we hear like fighting
Right.
fighting sounds, and then the lights turn back on because the cops are there, and
They're all tied up.
they're all tied up, and she's like and then I love how so yeah, she's all tied up, or they're all tied up, and she is she sees the sigh,
Sigh. Yeah,
which
Raphael
is that
sigh.
little the three dagger thing, and she picks it up, and I love how Raphael is looking through the sewer edge, and he
Right.
just goes, "Oh man, damn!" Because and we this is where I always kind of felt really. You know how like when you were a kid, how you
Uh,
watched like R-rated movies, or if you sat
right.
through you felt so like it was very risque in a way.
Uh,
When I saw this movie for the first time on video, I thought it was pretty risque.
he said a curse word.
Yeah, he says a curse word, and then he says it twice. He says "damn," and then they're showing the sewer, before the credit with the
Right.
credits, and I love the lines where they said "wicked," and he's like, and I think before the intro, the title scene, they say, and Michelangelo says, you gotta say it, Major League Butt Kicking is back in town. And then Donatello, I love Donatello is trying to like find the right
Yeah,
word,
coming up with like a
and he's
catchphrase.
like, and he does it in the sequel too, but he says like, um, penicillin, and they're like, righteous, and then Raphael says in like the next 3 minutes, he goes, damn.
Right,
So yeah, I like how it was a little risque, and then so they go into they talk to Splinter. Splinter says, for kind of does exposition a little bit
right.
and kind of says, "I will not be here, and you will need me to be." And I liked Splinter's look, and I thought the for 1990 looks
No,
pretty
yeah, it's pretty
amazing.
good. Yeah, and there's like the Hensons.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Henson's kind of
Jim
thing.
Henson and Brian Henson. Yeah,
And then And then I like their sewer. Their sewer's a lot drippy and dark,
right.
and because I think in the sequel it's more of a subway
Gotcha.
tunnel than anything.
Yeah,
Um, but I like these lines where he's like, "You," Splinter is given this whole
like heartfelt speech
heartfelt
and like
speech
Michelangelo's.
about Michelangelo. It's like, and if you put, and he's like sitting next to the payphone because this is still 1990.
Uh,
He's like, and I need no anchovies. If you put anchovies on there, there's gonna be trouble. And um, Splinter says, Michelangelo, get away from the phone. And he throws the book at him,
yeah,
and he says the clock's ticking, dude. And I really liked how they all brought their personalities in this
right.
movie. Um, and then we see like Michelangelo skateboarding and Donatello he's sitting there, or no, Michelangelo's sitting there, Donatello's skateboarding,
Right.
and they're talking about how what do you? They're looking up and they kind of see the what's it called
Let's see, like
the moon, and he says, what's your thoughts on, there's a lot of foreshadowing if you after
right,
watching it for the 30th time that he says, what are your thoughts on him not needing us
or like if he's not here
if
anymore.
he's not here anymore.
Right,
And Michelangelo, I like that Michelangelo has this look that he doesn't want to deal with it.
right.
And because he kind of changes the subject where he says,
It's got 30 seconds.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. And then after that, he looks at his up and he says, well, $5 off. And then we've got, which I think the guy that played, because what was interesting, the guy that played Michelangelo in the suit
Right.
was the pizza delivery guy,
Okay.
I think. Um, and so he comes in and he's like 122 and an eighth, 122 and an eighth. And he's like, where the hell is 122 and an eighth? And Michelangelo says, you're standing on it, dude. And he gives him just slip it down here.
Uh,
And gives him the 10. And he says, he gets the 10. He says, this is the 10. The tab's 15. You're 10 minutes late, dude. Come on, I couldn't find the place. And this is the greatest line
uh,
that Confucius has ever said. Wise man says forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. So remember that, ladies and gentlemen. And then he says, I gotta find a new route. And I really like. What's your thoughts on the way I guess before we keep going,
uh,
what's your thoughts on their costumes? As
I, I thought it was pretty good. I think the puppets, I think maybe look a little bit better, but I like their costumes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think they, and it could also be that they had more. They're bigger.
Yeah.
I've noted like they're bigger and fatter in the face.
Right.
Because if you look at Turtles 2 and 3, they're more leaner.
Okay.
You know, but I really liked that. I like that line where he says, "Wise man says forgiveness is divine. Never pay
Right.
full price for late pizza." So they get the pizza, and and it's Domino's. So I wonder if back in 1990, Domino's probably had like a
Sponsor.
sponsor, you know, where it's like if you get 16 pizzas or something, you get
Right.
like a $5 off the ticket or something like that. I don't know. That'd be interesting to look up. But let's get back to the movie. So I like how the pizza looks at it and he's like, "New turbo denser," and he throws it up, and Leonardo takes his swords and starts dicing it. And Michelangelo says, "It dices, it slices, and makes three um, makes things out of some or
Yeah, I can't remember exactly
yeah,
what.
something like that." Or he said it makes three pieces, and then one of them falls on Splinter's head,
Right.
and he says, "Kids." And then
Then we have Raphael is sort of not a part of this. He goes off by himself because
well, does he go after the meditation? He goes off.
he goes off like but like before like because they like everyone else sort of stays and like sort of parties a
And,
bit.
oh, because he says so. Um, Splinter says, you know, we must meditate, and so he starts to meditate, and he's like, ah, and then you hear the roar, na 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 ninja. Um, and they start, and he's like, well, it's like meditating. And then Raphael, who puts his trench coat on,
Right.
which is something that they did in the animated series, so that was kind of a nice look at. And he goes to a movie. He's like, or Leonardo asks him, Raph, where are you going? He's like, I'm going out to a movie. You want to come? Is that okay with you? That's it. That's it. And
Yeah.
so he goes to the movie, and the movie is
Critters.
Critters. And Critter. Did you ever see
I
Critter?
have, but it's been a long time.
What was that like? Supposed to be like a Gremlins
I don't
knockoff?
know if it's a knockoff. It's sort of like, but still like little alien, like
That
furry things that
furry thing
start to
that
eat
comes
people.
eat people. Okay,
Yeah.
I think there's like four of them.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that when Michael or Raphael comes out of the theater, he's like, "Where do they come up with this stuff?" And which is kind of calling the kettle black
Right.
when you look at the way Ninja Turtles is like, how do they come up with that stuff? And if you want to know, please check out our video on Ninja Turtles, the toys that made us. It's a really good episode. Anyway, um, so I like how he's like kind of so shocked that they're, you know, like that he's walking around, and then all of a sudden we get to see a crime
Yeah.
happen. This woman who is just kind of like holding onto her purse like it's nothing, or like it's a something. And these two guys come up and they grab her purse and they
Run off.
run off, and
Raphael
then
grabs the
Raphael
purse.
trips them, and then they look back and he kind of slides off his sigh,
Right. Like it's
and
like a handgun or something.
yeah, like it's a handgun, and they freak out, and then we get introduced to. They go, "What is that?" And we're introduced to Casey Jones,
Right.
who I think, did you ever know him through the comic? Or
No, just the animated show and the
I
movie.
think in the comic he was a badass vigil. He was more of a vigilante,
Gotcha.
and I think in this one he is like but it's not really no. I mean, kind of. I think he kind of fights off muggers and stuff like that just
Uh,
because he's like he says they go in and they're like, what was that? He says that was a crime and here is the penalty, and he uses like
Sports metaphors.
hockey
Yeah.
metaphors like two two penalties for high sticking, and then Raphael comes and pushes him down, and he says, what are you doing? And you want to continue
Yeah, because he's like, he thinks he's been like way too rough on the kids, and so then him and Casey start fighting.
fighting, and
He like pulls out two baseball bats.
bats, and he's like, "Oh, what is this? A Jose Cueca?" Like it's which I think is he's a famous baseball player
Right.
from the '90s. And he's tell me, how did it cost? How much did it cost you? And then he's like, "Oh, he hits him and knocks off the hat,
Uh,
and um
Like Casey thinks he's a
punker.
punk. Yeah,
Punker is like I hate punkers, especially green ones who wear um,
mask.
masks um, over their heads and green paint, and he's like, and then they start having a sports metaphor fight
Yeah,
where he's like going, um, he like you want he
yeah, and then sort of Casey finally gets the better of Raphael using a cricket bat
cricket
and
bat
sort of runs off.
and he runs off
Yeah,
and no yeah because he like he hits him with the cricket bat.
into
He
the
falls
garbage
into the
can.
garbage can and he
Right.
says, "See you later, freak." And then he's like, "Freak, freak." And then we hear the second, "Damn," but it's like echo
Echoes. Yeah.
a little bit. And I thought that was, I mean, I, who would have thought that, you think of somebody who says, "Hey, mom and dad, let's go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1990." And then they're like, "Oh my gosh, how much swearing is in this movie? Is this
Right.
so interesting, so exciting?" And then,
I think it cuts over to April O'Neil's in her like apartment, and her boss is like
yeah, her
checking on
boss
her.
is checking up on her. Her boss is
And with the boss is his son.
his son
Danny.
Danny,
Yeah.
and her boss is Charles Pennington, I think is his name. Uh, Charles Pennington,
Okay.
played by Che Patterson, who was in Ted 2 and Nine Lives. He also did voice work for Red Dead Redemption.
Okay. And we'd seen Danny earlier in the movie as one of the teenagers
Who
stealing
was
things.
no,
Yeah.
he wasn't stealing
Was he
anything.
pickpocketing? I can't
No,
remember.
he pickpocket. He was holding it for
One of the ninjas.
one of
Okay.
the Foot Clan, but he also was in the at the Pleasure Treasure Island
Yeah.
place, opening up CD boxes,
Gotcha. Okay.
and so so Danny is
Just there at the apartment as April's boss is checking in her from because this is like the morning after she was mugged.
bugged,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I really want you to." She's like, "I really want you to go get having somebody escort you
Right.
out." She's like, "I can handle myself. I wasn't mugged, Charles. Besides, you wouldn't, you know, you'd be, He's like, "Take it," but she starts asking, kind of. She's like, she, she starts talking about her story,
Um.
and then she says that after Stearns wants, after I get, talk to the chief of police,
Right.
Stearns, I want to get some answers about Tokyo, which it kind of combines with the
Right.
Foot Clan. And then, and she starts saying, like, uh, and Charles is like, just take it easy. I've already got the mayor breathing down my neck.
Right.
Um,
And so then there's a whole we can sort of fast forward with her
yeah,
like at city hall and like going to some reporting and asking the police chief some like tough
is
questions.
right. And I love how, and then of course, uh, Shredder has this huge TV room, and it's 90s TVs, so it's like all these TVs with the
Right.
same thing, and they're talking about the Foot Clan, um, and Shredder sees April and throws like one of the daggers at the TV, and it breaks the TV, and he's like, "Find her,
Silence her.
silence her," and she ends up having to go back into the chief's office about the story and kind of
Uh-huh.
how she made, basically how he made um how she made him look like a fool
Right.
on TV. And she talks about how he says, "So you want to be busting my chops just because of something that happened years ago in Japan?"
Right. And then this is sort of like some of a side thing. We see Danny getting taken into the police office.
Police officers. So, but we don't really see him get caught.
No, and so we sort of learn it's I don't know if it was told us directly, but it's sort of implied that he was sent in so the police could use him as leverage to get April fired. Like so the police like use that's why his her boss was saying that like, she needs to pull off like in the next scene,
Oh,
not
okay.
like report on this.
Oh, I never noticed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So like sort of that's why he like gets off without like getting going to jail or anything. It's because
Oh,
like the police like because he
oh,
mentions like a
because
weird deal.
April O'Neil was being a little bit too nosy with
Yeah.
it. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense because I've never I've watched this movie like 300 times and I've never
Yeah.
noticed
You'll
that.
notice the police chief at one point says to April's boss, "We had a deal," and I think it's implying with his.
Oh, and on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Because April doesn't stop with her reporting.
Right. Oh, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so,
I
um,
think then April goes down to the subway and then misses the.
yeah, so she
Yeah.
goes down to the subway and then the subway passes. She's like, oh, great. And then all of a sudden, um, the Foot Clan shows up and says, we've been waiting for you, Miss O'Neill.
Right.
And she's like, what? Am I down? I'm sorry I'm quoting this, but I've seen this movie so many
Right.
times. And am I down in my on my Sony payments? I have a message for you. And then he just smacks her across the face,
Right.
which I was like, ooh, this is a lot more. And then so she gets kind of aggressive.
Right.
She tries to use her purse and tries to
Right.
fight them, but they're too strong. They're
Yeah,
too
and I think we forgot to mention it. Like during this whole time, we're sort of following April. Raphael's been sort of like tailing her.
telling it
Yeah.
right, right, and like that was it because and we see him and I love the fact that there's a scene where we see her walking out of the station area to the subway, and he's reading the New York Times or New York Post, and as he's reading the New York Post, it says he's in the trench coat,
Right.
which is something that um, the Turtles were in the animated show,
Right.
and so she ends up um, get knocked out by the Foot Clan,
Right.
and then she drops the sai. Raphael finally gets his sai back, and he does this amazing fight between um, the Cobra,
No,
Cobra,
the Foot Clan.
the Foot Clan, Foot
Yeah.
Clan, not the Cobra Kai, Foot Clan, and Cheetah, and he like yeah, and does all this
Right.
fighting moves, and I thought it looked pretty good for
No. Yeah, I agree.
19. I
Yeah.
mean, especially the stunts that need to be done
Right.
was just something that was so cool.
Yeah. Especially in those suits.
Yeah,
Do all the yeah. And so then Raphael sort of picks her up and then carries her off down the subway to
subway
their hideout.
hideout. But then I didn't, and that's something I've noticed after watching this a couple times. We see a foot
Yeah,
soldier
one of them wasn't knocked down. It was like follows.
follows him
Yeah.
down there, and then Leonardo says, "Are you crazy?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm crazy, Leo." A couple news reporters, and throw fellow,
Right.
and then Splinter sees that and says, "What are you doing? What's this?" And he's like, "She got jumped in the subway. She needs a place to stay." And he's like, "Get a cold water." And Mikey starts being creepy, but probably not as bad as he is in like the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But he does say a line. He says, "Can we keep her?" Um, what do you think of their sewer in this one?
I liked it.
I thought it was dingy. I mean,
Right.
you kind of going back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, I think they stayed in like an abandoned subway,
Gotcha.
and so it's kind of a little bit different, but I like it there's not a lot of like teenage stuff on the wall.
No, no.
It's
It's
not
like
as
the sort of messy, like a
yeah,
yeah, like pizza boxes and
pizza
stuff.
boxes
Yeah.
and stuff. Um, so she gets cold, so she's knocked out, and they try to get cold water. They get a washcloth to kind of,
Wake her up.
wake
Yeah.
her up. She wakes up and she starts to scream, and she's freaked out because who wouldn't be being in a dingy sewer with
Right.
big giant reptiles and
Splinter.
Splinter, a giant rat,
Right.
a giant mutated rat. And she starts screaming, and they go, kind of go, ah, ah. And then Splinter says, "You can, I can, I know you're panicking, Miss No Neil, but if you just take a breath, we will tell you where we came from." And I love April O'Neil's, because April O'Neil thinks she's dreaming,
Right.
and she says, "Why can't I dream of things like Harrison Ford?"
Right.
Which it's some of these lines I kind of now get, but kind of went over my head when I was a kid.
Right.
And so Splinter tells him this tale of
The
how
ooze.
how the ooze came in and how he and it was I think in this one, which is a little bit different than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014, where it was all about April O'Neil's father worked for TCRI and they were her pets. So they kind of all try to connect it all together. But in this one, it was like, I was a rat with my master Yoshi. And then I think Splinter got into the ooze and started getting intelligent.
Right.
He found the baby turtles. He put them in a coffee cup and they lived together in the sewer.
Uh,
Um, and then he found an old Renaissance art book, and that's how the names Leonardo for Leonardo da Vinci,
right.
Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael were all made.
Right.
Um, I did like how Michelangelo says when he says, "I found," when Shredder or Splinter says, "I found four baby turtles," and Michelangelo says, "That was us." And Raphael and Donatello are like, "Oh no!" And so and it's kind of interesting how this differs from the second one.
Right.
I mean, the way because Kino gets sort of the story told by him.
Gotcha.
Um, so anyway, they end up going to this
So they take April back to
back to her
her
house
apartment. Yeah, her
about her
apartment.
apartment, and she says, "Thank you for your hospitality and saving me, but the only thing I can offer is frozen pizza." That says the magic word. They go,
Pizza.
"Pizza," and I love the line where she says, "You guys eat pizza? Doesn't everybody?"
Right.
And so they have this moment where they're eating pizza, and after they're kind of having pizza, they're playing charades or
Yeah, just doing like
character
impressions.
impressions, and um, Michelangelo does Rocky, and then Cagney. I don't know who Cagney was, but he does that line which is, "You dirty rat, you killed my brother, you dirty rat," and then April O'Neil says, "That must be Splinter's favorites." So I mean, I got that. So anyway, so they eat pizza. They end up going to the back to the lair, and as they're going back to the lair, they find out that
Splinter's been taken.
Splinter been taken, and they look around, and the whole place is demolished. I mean, it doesn't look as bad as it did when they first were living there,
Right.
but we know it's all broken, and so they do this really cool cross um, panel where
Uh,
they show Turtle, who is it? Um, Michelangelo, no, Donatello, Raphael. They do it like this, the camera goes around him and he starts yelling. He yells so loud that there's a guy walking behind the sewer that's just like looks down at the sewer. It's kind of like, what's that sound coming from?
right.
Um, so then,
So then they head back to April's apartment and
right,
let her know what's happened. And show sort of the next day she's trying to find out what she can about the Foot Clan and what's going on.
And so she kind of digs a little bit deeper.
Right,
So she talks about she's on her news report
right,
about how she got rescued.
right.
Right? Is that yeah?
Yeah,
Rescued
stop.
by
They like sort of get going off the police, and then sort of Ralph sort of gets upset, like just trying to wait, just
wait
waiting, and so he goes sort of off up to the roof.
rooftop. Right
Right,
now, I did like that scene where we saw after her uh, after her report, Donatello and Michelangelo are watching some the Rabbit in the Hare cartoon,
right,
and and this is the reason why I bring this up is just because how edgy this movie was back when I was a kid, because he's like going, she's driving and he's like going, Ninja kick the damn rabbit, and you're like, ooh, this movie's getting edgy. But I mean, I think it really the animatronics still holds up with the
yeah,
turtle suits. But so she tells um Leo that they're gonna run the story from the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news,
right,
and see if anything comes up. And then then Donatello and the she shows him the her antique shop,
right,
and their antique. She shows the turtles the antique shop. Raphael is on the roof, kind of pondering stuff when the Foot Clan shows up,
right.
and then Raphael and the Foot Clan have a fight on the rooftop, and the fight looks pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
Then we go cut to them, and there's this really nice line that April says to Donatello, and it's like she says, "My dad really liked kind of all this junk," she says, "I guess it feels kind of weird keeping it," and Donatello says, "No, it doesn't." So Raphael is on top of the roof, and he's fighting all these ninjas.
Right,
And they're asking him, "Where's Ralph?" And he's like, "Oh, he likes to be alone. He likes it." And then they say like, "Anytime Ralph, if he's busy, he come by anytime right now." And he drops
he gets
uh,
down through the skylight.
runs through the skylight, and there's a huge fight between the turtles and the
Foot
Foot
Clan.
Clan. And I like the fights because um, Michelangelo and Donatello, they fight, and then Michelangelo gets on his shell and he spins around. He's like, "Hey, Johnny, check this out,
Right.
Wheel of Fortune, dude!" And and then they're like, "I guess they're not game show fans." And what's his name? Donatello and Michelangelo says, "And I thought everybody was Vanna." So I like how I liked how they kind of know kind of pop culture
Right.
stuff. Um, so the turtle. So then of course the Tushu,
I can't remember his little lieutenant's name.
Tashu, Tushu, Tashu, something. He comes by and he's like, "Attack!" And these turtles come. They fight them. They're a little bit too. It's too hard to fight them. And then Casey Jones shows up
Right.
in his mask, and
They're sort of getting overwhelmed a bit, and so they go. They're like fighting, and like the building sort of catches on fire, and they find like a trap door into the basement. I think April is leads them into,
yeah,
and they sort of escape that way. And then they climb into a van that looks
Van that looks
suspiciously like the
suspicious. It looks like a hippies buff,
right
hippies bus, but it also has kind of a lot of resemblance to
to
the
the
turtle van,
yeah right
which I think it was kind of cool that we got to see it in the Ninja Turtles 2014 film, 13 film.
gotcha. And so they drive off to like as April has like a family home
Oh,
out in like the countryside.
side, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, but before she leaves, um, Casey is the last one to leave,
Uh-huh.
and he hears on the answering machine that Charles has fired April
right.
O'Neil.
And so that I think that she was fired because of the whole police issue.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
60, yeah.
yeah,
And then so they drive off to the her
right,
farmhouse. Raph's in the tub,
right. So he's like badly hurt, and this is sort of like their time to like recuperate, do some like
recuperate.
a
So,
training
and I liked
operation.
how April does these really good. I mean, they're amazing drawings, and of all the turtles and kind of where they are in the
Right.
story. And I really liked how Leonardo is, or Donatello and
Casey are like working on
Casey
the car,
are they're doing an alphabetical uh, uh,
calling
pun
or they're calling
name
each other insults. Yeah.
insults, and he's like, way to go, Gackface. I think they're like, what road are we on? I heard Gackface, and for some reason, every time I hear that, I'm like thinking of, do you remember Nickelodeon Gack?
Uh-huh.
That kind of, I was just like, oh yeah, I remember that. Um, and then, uh, and they're talking about Gilligan's Island.
Right.
And then you had Michelangelo. We didn't hear her say anything about Michelangelo, but Leonardo has been waiting patiently at the door at Ralph's bed
Right.
or tub, and I love that line where we see or that scene where April's like massaging herself, and then all of a sudden Casey tries to massage her, and then like he just flops her down and starts
Right.
to massage her, and then um, Michelangelo comes in and it's like, "Do you need any ointment?" And he's like, "No." He picks up some turtle wax. I thought that was kind of a funny
Right.
thing. So they're they end up training. Raphael wakes up. They become one,
Right.
and then or they fight as a team anymore. And then but before that, they Leonardo is meditating in the forest
Uh-huh.
in the on the yeah in the grass on the lawn, and he hears a Splinter.
Right.
And I love the fact that he interrupts their game of Trivial Pursuit, and he walks in and just walks on the thing. He's like, he's alive, and it's like, we all know he's alive. I think he's alive. And then they go into the forest
Right.
and they meditate. And as they're meditating, the flames peak up and the image of Splinter shows up. It says,
Right.
"I love you all, my sons." Um, and I thought that was a pretty cool effect too.
Right.
Um, so
At that point, they're ready to head back to the city.
City
Right.
fights the foot.
Right.
So they head to the city. We see that it starts to rain when they get there, and I liked how um he's like, "This isn't bad." Oh, Casey's like, "This isn't bad. This is bad." And he flicks to the sewer and is like, "No, I'm not going in there." And then I love Donatello says, "You're a claustrophobic," and then he thinks um I think he thinks the word's homophobic instead of
Oh, gotcha.
claustrophobic or
Right.
something. He's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about? I don't even look like a man." He's like, "You're scared of safe space or small spaces." And I liked how he tries to be brave enough and sits in
The truck.
his truck, which pays off.
Right.
So they go down there and they find out that Danny has been living down there
Yeah.
for a couple of
Yeah.
days.
So he'd sort of been having some like a has like a change of heart because he sort of had been talking to Splinter as
Right,
and
right,
that's
right,
chained up in their hideout
right,
at the
right,
Foot Clan hideout.
right, right, right. And and I like how they have the moment where he talks to him and he says, "You have a father, Danny?" And he's like, "My father could care less about." Danny says, "My father could care less about me." And Splinter says, "All fathers care for their sons," which is a pretty nice little meta, kind of
Yeah.
moment too. And he says, "My master Roshi, you wear his emblem." on your brow. And so they end up going to, so he ends up having kind of, so uh, Danny has a change of heart
Right.
when he gets to know the rat or Splinter. And then,
After the turtles come back, he like it goes back to the hideout. I think to talk with Splinter again.
yeah,
You
and
know,
then Shredder,
Casey sort of follows Danny back to their
Danny's
hideout.
dad,
Right. And so then Danny, as he's talking to Splinter, sort of gets caught by Shredder,
Shredder, right.
who
And
finds
he's
the
that
drawing of his
drawing,
father.
he's like, they're back. And then find them. So then
Right.
they go, then the foot goes and finds the turtles.
Right. And then Danny like stops Casey, says, "No, we need to free Splinter."
Free Splinter. They're gonna kill Splinter.
Yeah.
And then I like their. So let's talk about their sort of. So as the turtles are fighting the foot in the city,
Uh-huh.
right? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Casey and Danny free Splinter, but they have to make with Kashu,
Right.
who I don't. Was he made for just this movie?
I'm
Because
not
I don't
sure.
think he was ever in the.
Yeah.
He might have been in the comics. I'm
Yeah,
guessing,
I'm not sure.
but he fights him, and there's this moment where he or Casey's like, really tries to say, you just need to, back off. And Tashu is, because we see Tashu kind of, he can take control of any, like,
Uh-huh.
even if there's a fight. I love that line where Tashu is fighting this kid, and this kid bows, and he just kicks him right in the face. And he says, never lay your hand to an enemy.
Or take your I think it was
Take
take your
your
eyes.
eyes off the enemy, or else it never bow your head. But anyway,
Right.
um, so he ends up fighting uh,
Casey.
Casey. Casey doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's gonna do, and so he finds
Yeah, he's just getting beat up until he finds some sports equipment.
sports equipment. No, he finds a golf club,
Right.
and then he just knocks him out with a golf club, and he flies like 10 roofs. And then we see Sam Rockwell say, "The Shredder thinks we're family." And you go, "You think that? And this is family?" And Splinter says, "The Shredder uses you."
Right.
Um,
And so they sort of turn all those like boys and teenagers like
I've
out of
noticed that
Shredder's control.
I've noticed that there's never any female Foot Clan.
I can't. There might have been some like in the opening scenes and stuff like when they're showing around. Yeah, but there's not. I
They
can't.
don't join the Foot. I think there's just teen. Because
Okay,
remember, there's that girl. There's like that one girl that's blowing bubble gum.
I can't remember. But yeah,
Where,
there's they probably yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I think but I don't think they're ever like part of the Foot,
Okay,
or maybe I don't know.
it's hard to tell because they're in ninja costumes. But
Yeah, whatever. Um, so Splinter tells the kids that he poisons your mind to uses you, and then young Sam Rockwell says, "But Shredder says we're a family," and he says family and family. Then
so they all head back to the turtles.
Turtles lair.
Right.
The turtles head over, are fighting in the streets.
I think they're up on a rooftop, aren't they, when they're fighting Shredder?
Yeah, but no, they're up on the streets first. They're fighting the Foot for
Right.
a little bit because there's
Right.
that
Right.
line where he's like to the left, and April kind of helps out a little bit. She knocks out one of the Foot members
Right. I think they've got the Foot Clan like sort of on the run, and they chase them up the roof,
off the
and it's right
rooftop.
when I think
Yeah,
Shredder
and then
shows up.
Shredder shows up, and Shredder. I love how Shredder enters.
Just sort of
So pictures this: Shredder is so they're up on the roof, and Shredder just jumps down, but it's filmed like he's jumping down so
almost like
slow,
levitating down.
levitating down, and they ask him like, so they go, "Who is this guy?" And I like the fact that the turtles have never met
Right. He's like
Splinter or never met Shredder
right.
since until this scene, and so he kind of comes down and he says, um, "Who is this guy?" and he says, a can opener on steroids. And so he's like, ah, I'll fight him. And like, we can take him. So Leonardo takes him. And he just does it even. He just sort of lifts up his staff, and Leonardo goes down.
Right. They
Then
sort of usually
Donatello.
like one at a
No, I
time.
love it.
Yeah.
Donatello goes. No, Donatello. Raphael goes for it,
Right.
and he gets kicked out. And then Donatello and Michelangelo are looking, and then they go, I'll fight you for it, or so they go one, two. They do rock paper scissors,
Right.
and then as they do rock paper scissors, um, Michelangelo gets it, and he's like, "Oh, great!" So they fights him. Donatello fights. I know Leonardo fights him, right?
Right. And then they sort of
Le-
just all sort of start
Leonardo
fighting.
fights him. No,
Right.
Leonardo fights Shredder.
Right.
Shredder puts him in like a lock. He tells them to drop all their weapons. Remember?
Right. Yeah. And then
And
Shredder's
then
like, "You fools!
ha ha
I'm
ha, you
going to kill
fools!
you all."
Now I'm gonna kill you all. And then all of a sudden, um,
Splinter.
Splinter shows up, and he's like, I am your master," and or after
You killed my
you
master.
killed my master, you walk a Wusha or you walk a Yoshi, and he's like, I'm going to do, I love the fact, and it's probably was pretty revealing at the time
Uh,
when um, Shredder takes off his mask, because even though you can kind of can see, if you look at his mask in this one,
right.
you can kind of see his face a little bit, like it's he takes off his mask, and and we finally find out, reveal that he's Yamato Ushi. Is it Yoshi?
I can't remember his name, but yeah, you can see like the scar
Scar
that Splinter
that
gave him
Splinter
when he
gave
was
him
a
when he was
normal.
a normal rat. Yeah, and so he says, "I'm going to kill you by starting doing the same thing I started with your ear," and um, he ends up rushing towards him with his spear, and he just and I love the fact that Splinter does this move where he just takes out the nunchucks, and he um, puts it around him,
Uh,
and Shredder is like on his he's on his yeah,
so like hang off the side of
he's
the building.
inside of the building, and um Splinter says, "Death comes for us all, but for you it comes much sooner." And Splinter or Shredder tries to throw something at Splinter, and he dodges it. Then he falls in, and he jumps out of a
Or it falls into a
crash
garbage truck.
garbage truck. And I'll be honest,
And then Casey engages the compression sucker.
pressure, and that was very like, oh my
And I
god,
think you see like his like mask sort of get crumpled and part
crumbled.
of his
Yeah,
arm
yeah,
on
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And like, how could he survive that? Now I've only seen I saw the second one first,
Uh,
and so when I saw the second one, I was like, how did Shredder get into the garbage can? Now I know. So Stearns goes over to the chief of police, goes over to Sam Rockwell, and Sam Rockwell has this line that is a kind of a nice wink at the camera. He says, "What do you think of where is the place?" He says it's either at Eastman and Lair, which is the name of
oh yeah, the
Kevin
comic.
Eastman and
Right, right.
Lair. So that was kind of a nice, wink at him. You'll find what you need. And then um, April, I like the fact that Charles, who kind of was always a hard ass in this movie, he just was sort of like, he still has that loving father moment where he's like, Danny, I've had the whole city looking for you.
Right,
And then April O'Neil and then also April gets her old job back with a new office
right.
and
A
everything, a
raise.
raise. And then the turtles up in the shadow do, kind of try to come up with a name, which I love how I realized after watching this again, they never come up with Kyle Bunga until the very end of the movie.
Right.
So they come up with the name, and Shredder says, "I've always liked Cowabunga,"
Right.
and they're like, "Well, that's a good idea, Cowabunga." And then we hear the TURT Yelly Power Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So Jay, what was your thoughts watching this for like the fourth time, or for kind of for the fourth or fifth time? After seeing it on the big screen, do you feel like it still hold? I mean, how do you feel
No,
like it
I think
holds?
I think it's a good movie. You know, sort of. I would think sort of. I would say like Raphael, sort of your main character, or like
Main character
main
arc.
focus. Yeah, the
Yeah,
main character
yeah.
arc with him, like sort of like dealing with his
And
anger.
which is kind of interesting because Leonardo's always the leader,
Right.
but if you watch him in the animated show, he's kind of a little bit too of a Boy Scout. Leonardo is,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I also kind of liked how this film was dodgy, kind of dodgy, and the 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 way New York was just kind of unclean.
Yeah, grimy feeling.
Yeah,
And I
and
liked how they did a Splinter sort of like felt like the like Darth Vader, sort of like mysterious, just sort of evil presence, sort of.
to Splinter.
Yeah, because they don't show Splinter a whole lot. He's sort of like like sort of like just being a menace.
Splinter?
No, sorry, I was thinking of Shredder. Sorry,
Shredder, Shredder.
Shredder.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so Shredder is more of a menace, and I like how when he shows up with, kind of this big haunting kind of thing, and he's walking towards um the kind of talking to the kids,
Right.
and he's like, the future, the outside world rejects you. And just the fact he looks so cool in that cape at the time.
Right.
Um, I after watching this a couple times on the big screen, I have more respect for it now because I think the second one was sort of so kid friendly that it probably felt a little bit more more fun for
Right.
me. Plus the Vanilla Ice thing, but we'll get into that later. I really like, but after watching this two or three times on the big screen and watching it now, I think it really holds up.
Yeah.
And I think it holds up, but I think the pacing is a little bit different because if I would have probably saw this at 8, I've been like, this movie felt long, but it flows, but it does let it breathe
Yeah.
too. I liked Michael. I like this April O'Neil. She's not one. She feels more like a comrade to the turtles in this one, don't you think? Do you think
Yeah.
she's your favorite April O'Neil from watching
Yeah.
the
It's
live action
yeah. Yeah.
ones?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Judith Hogue, I think brought it. I think I really liked. I think Leonardo. I mean, they were still trying to find their characters, but it worked pretty well. I remember watching this on VHS, and they had the Pizza Hut. Do you remember the Pizza Hut commercial?
No, I don't
They
remember
had
that.
this Pizza Hut commercial where they go, which is ironic because the guy that delivers the
Dominoes.
Dominoes, but it's like this kid is playing right field. They're doing this song. He goes, "I play right field. It's important to know. You gotta know how to catch. You know how to throw." And it's like that's why Domino's or Pizza Hut uh, loves sponsors sponsors little leagues everywhere or something like that. But I just
Gotcha.
remember that this was kind of an interesting film. I think it worked. I have more respect for it now that I'm older,
Right.
and I think because it's darker, grittier. Had I seen this, I mean, this came out in 1990, so I was 2 when this came out. So let's give us our rating. So on a scale from two, we're gonna do rated two ways.
Okay.
We're gonna rate it as a film itself
Okay.
on a scale from 1 to 100, or one to 10. It's meh. 10 to 30. It's
Okay.
You know, like where would you rate this on
Uh,
the on the movies on the TVs on the ball score?
okay. I would say 85. What would you give it?
I'll give it as a film probably 86.
Okay.
As a nostalgia film,
Probably higher than that. Maybe a 90.
90.
Yeah. What about you?
Uh,
I assume higher because you are pretty big turtles.
I was a big Turtles fan. I, I'll have to say that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, I've heard it's not for me, it'll be a 94, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2
Uh,
would be more of a 98.
gotcha.
And I think Rotten Tomato, what did Rotten Tomato give it?
Oh, I don't know. You can look it up.
So the Rotten Tomato score is for the critics, it is a
46.
46. Wah, wah.
But the
But
audience.
the audience score an 81%. So you know, critics could be wrong, and I think it holds up now. Um I say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's a classic now. It's worked, and it was. Did we mention that it's the was the highest
Yeah, I
grossing?
think
Yeah, we did. Okay,
for
yeah.
the Blair Witch. Yeah, yeah.
For the Blair Witch. Okay, so yeah, that's our look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As you can hear, we are fans of this Turtles movie. I think Jay, are you tune out next time where we'll go into for the 30th anniversary Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2,
Right.
and then I think Legend of Zorro, or we'll find something.
Right.
But Turtles 2 coming soon. And as always, I'm Steve.
I'm Jay.
And Teenage Mutant Ninja
Ninja
Turtles,
Turtles,
Teenage Mutant
Ninja
Ninja Turtles,
Turtles.
TURTLE power. Peace, and like and subscribe. And if you like Ninja Turtles, let me know what your thoughts are on this movie and Turtles in general. You can check out our other Turtle stuff in the link below. And see you at the movies. Bye. Next video will be on the secret of the ooze.